She was your neighbor, friendly, polite, always smiling. But behind the white picket fences and perfectly manicured lawns, a secret simmered. A secret that would shock a nation. Karen Reed, a suburban mother, wife, volunteer, and on the surface, someone you'd never suspect of harboring darkness. And yet, when the trial began, the quiet streets of her town were transformed into a stage for headlines, rumors, and whispered fears. Who is Karen Reed? And why has her story captivated and terrified people across the country? Karen Reed grew up in a middle-class suburb, the kind of town where everyone knows your name, your schedule, and sometimes your secrets. She was a model citizen, PTA meetings, bake sales, local charity events. Neighbors would recall her generosity, her warm smile, her readiness to help anyone in need. Yet, the very image of suburban perfection that she cultivated was shattered one spring morning when the local police received a call that would set in motion a chain of events no one could have imagined. It began innocuously, or at least it seemed that way. A complaint from a neighbor about suspicious behavior, a series of small incidents that, taken individually, seemed almost trivial. Misplaced mail, an unmarked package left on a porch, reports of strange, repeated phone calls. But detectives soon realized that beneath the seemingly mundane complaints, there was a pattern, an obsessive attention to detail, a controlling nature, and a growing trail of manipulation. This pattern would lead to Karen Reed and to a case that gripped a nation. The trial itself became a spectacle. Television crews lined the streets outside her home, camera lenses peering through the blinds, while neighbors whispered behind curtains. Inside the courtroom, the drama unfolded like a meticulously scripted thriller. Prosecutors presented evidence suggesting that Karen had meticulously orchestrated actions to deceive, manipulate, and control those around her. Emails, phone records, financial transactions, and personal diaries became pieces of a puzzle that painted a portrait far removed from the smiling neighbor everyone thought they knew. From the outset, the question that dominated headlines was simple yet haunting: who is Karen Reed? But the answer was anything but simple. Witnesses described a woman capable of remarkable charm and terrifying calculation. Friends and family alternated between shock, disbelief, and fear as the layers of her personality were peeled back. Some described her as loving and attentive. Others recounted moments of intimidation, secretive behavior, and cold, calculated responses when challenged. It was this duality that captured public imagination, the quiet suburban mom hiding a carefully constructed, darker reality beneath. Evidence presented in court suggested that Karen was not only manipulative but also methodical. Financial records showed unexplained transactions, some of which pointed to potential motives that went beyond petty conflicts. Emails and private notes revealed an obsession with perfection and control, how things should appear to the outside world, and who should be allowed to see the truth. Prosecutors argued that she used her charm as a weapon, carefully crafting her persona to evade suspicion while executing actions that would have dire consequences for those around her. The courtroom drama was intense, every day bringing new revelations. Testimonies detailed how Karen allegedly influenced neighbors, friends, and even family members, pushing them to act in ways that seemed helpful or mundane, but ultimately served her larger, hidden agenda. Experts called in by the defense described a pattern of behavior often seen in highly intelligent, calculating individuals who operate within seemingly normal environments. Psychologists argued about intent, motivation, and the fine line between eccentricity and criminal manipulation. Every piece of testimony seemed to deepen the mystery. Was Karen a victim of circumstance or a mastermind orchestrating a web of deceit? The media frenzy added another layer of complexity. News outlets dissected every aspect of Karen's life, from her social media activity to old-school photos, searching for clues, patterns, or any indication that might explain her behavior. Headlines swung between shock and sensationalism, painting Karen as both a sinister figure and a misunderstood suburban mother. Online forums buzzed with speculation, and the nation seemed divided. Was Karen guilty, or was she simply a product of her environment, a woman overwhelmed by the pressures of perfection and expectation? As the trial unfolded, 7 critical questions emerged, questions that became the framework for understanding Karen's actions and the events that led to the case capturing national attention. First, what drove Karen Reed to act in ways that harmed others, either directly or indirectly? The prosecution painted a picture of deliberate, calculated actions motivated by desire for control and recognition. The defense suggested stress, miscommunication, and the suffocating pressures of suburban life played a role. The truth, as with many complex cases, seemed to reside somewhere in between, wrapped in layers of psychological nuance. Second, how much did her neighbors, friends, and family truly know? Testimonies revealed conflicting accounts, with some neighbors claiming they had no idea anything was amiss, while others recounted subtle signs, odd behaviors, minor manipulations, or unexplained secrecy. These contradictions only fueled the intrigue, leaving the public questioning how much of the suburban facade was real. Third, what role did technology play? Emails, social media, and digital records became central to the case. Experts analyzed patterns, timestamps, and communication threads that suggested planning and forethought. In an era where digital footprints rarely lie, Karen's meticulous attention to detail both helped and complicated the case. Fourth, was this the result of one woman's actions or a systemic failure? Critics and commentators argued that Karen's behavior exposed vulnerabilities in suburban communities, where appearances often outweigh scrutiny. The case prompted nationwide discussions about trust, perception, and the hidden dynamics behind perfect neighborhoods. Fifth, could this have been prevented? Lawyers, psychologists, and social commentators debated whether early intervention by neighbors, family, or authorities might have altered the trajectory of events. Were there missed signs, subtle warnings, or ignored pleas that could have averted the scandal? Sixth, how did the trial's spectacle affect the outcome? Media attention amplified tension, shaping public perception and influencing testimonies. Some argued that the pressure of national scrutiny created an environment where truth and narrative became entangled, leaving room for interpretation and manipulation. Seventh, who is Karen Reed really? After months of testimony, expert analysis, and media coverage, this central question remained. Was she a calculating manipulator hiding behind suburban charm? A woman trapped by circumstance, misunderstood and misrepresented? Or something in between, a reflection of the dark complexities that can exist in any seemingly ordinary life? The trial's final days were intense, the courtroom packed with spectators, journalists, and family members. Evidence was revisited, arguments made, and experts challenged. Every nuance mattered. A glance, a pause, a contradiction in testimony could sway perceptions. The nation watched as the jury deliberated, social media debates raged, and communities grappled with the uncomfortable realization that even the most ordinary-seeming lives can harbor secrets capable of shocking the world. Ultimately, the story of Karen Reed is more than a suburban crime story. It is a window into human behavior, perception, and the tension between appearance and reality. It asks uncomfortable questions. How well do we know those around us? How fragile is trust in a world obsessed with perfection? And how easily can charm, calculation, and secrecy intersect to create chaos in even the quietest neighborhoods? As the trial concluded, one fact remained clear. The nation was captivated, not just by the allegations, but by the enigma of Karen Reed herself, a woman whose life, actions, and motivations defy easy explanation. And while the verdict may have brought closure in legal terms, the questions linger. Who is Karen Reed? What drove her? And what lessons does her story hold for the communities we call home, the neighbors we trust, and the lives we observe from a distance, assuming we understand them? In the end, Karen Reed's story is a mirror reflecting the complexities of human nature. It reminds us that darkness can lurk behind the most familiar smiles, that perception can be deceiving, and that sometimes the most ordinary lives can tell the most extraordinary, chilling stories. The Suburban trial may have ended, but the fascination, debate, and unanswered questions will continue, captivating a nation and reminding us all to look a little closer, question a little deeper, and never assume that what we see is all that exists. Who is Karen Reed? The answer is complicated, haunting, and in many ways still unfolding.